So today I am going to talk about leveraging the global workforce. I'm Karen, I'm the co-founder and CTO of Furnishr. Furnishr is a startup that will furnish your entire home in one day. And basically we do that by showing you some room designs. You like a design, you buy it, we handle all the logistics to make sure all the furniture in the design will be all delivered and set up in your home all at once. And so how we do that is mainly by leveraging a lot of external parties who are interior designers, furniture suppliers, logistics providers, and white glove movers. So our core business is basically managing external parties and independent contractors. That's our company operation, and besides that, on a day-to-day basis, we also use a lot of independent freelancers and agencies to help us with marketing, software development, biz dev, and some sales operations. A lot of our freelancers are from outside of North America. Many of them from Europe, Asia, and on any given day, we're basically working with people from at least 3 different countries. Working with the global workforce, the main reason we do that is because we always want to achieve more with less. Our team is very small, there are only 3 of us, and we need help with all these work streams for marketing, biz dev, sales, etc. And because most parts of the world do have lower cost of living than North America, so their labor rates are also relatively lower. And that's our leveraging the global workforce is our way to grow while optimizing our spend. So if, as I said, one of the main reasons to outsource to outside of North America is really cost. But cost saving is important, but not everything should be outsourced. So when we decide when to keep things in-house and when to outsource things, it's mainly based on how much collaboration and communication is needed to get the work done. So anything that requires strategizing or integrating work streams will always be kept in-house. We'll always have somebody managing the consistency of the quality of the work from our outsourced freelancers, and anything that can be standalone without much dependencies on each other will be outsourced to independent freelancers. So all of our outsourced tasks will always have very clear use cases with specifically what deliverable it will be, what they will be delivering, how the deliverable will be used, when and where. And if you've been on any of the freelancing platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, DesignCrowd, People Per Hour, you notice that there are a lot of independent freelancers as well as agencies who manage freelancers. Agencies basically have somebody who coordinates the communication between you and the freelancers. So I've worked with both for different aspects of the business, and if you're working with complex tasks like software development, for example, my recommendation is always to go with an agency, mainly because you always have continuity on your project if your developer's off sick or need to take some time off. And also the communication part is key. You always have a project manager to manage that clarity on your requirements to make sure things are done efficiently. For independents, my task for them will always be something simple like maybe creating content, graphic design, creating a logo, or writing blogs. So things that can be done independently without talking to other taskers are always good for independence. And if you're working with freelancers outside of North America, you're likely going to be working with different time zones. So for us, our time zone requirement with our freelancers is always to have at least 3 hours of overlap in your business hours. During those 3 hours, that's when you clarify your requirements, do some testing, make sure everything's done properly. And being in Toronto, in terms of time zone, I think Europe is a great place for us to work with for outsourcing, maybe because they're 6 to 7 hours ahead. So every morning we get those 3 hours of overlap, and during the day we'll create task requirements for them. We send them off at the end of our day. When we're sleeping, they start to work. By the time we wake up the next morning, something will already be done, so you can start testing or revising your requirements. And if you're going to be working with multiple time zones, my advice is to keep those time zones as far as possible so that you can use your morning on one team from one region and spend your afternoon managing time zone from another. So for our business, we do have a number of operational tasks, some things that are pretty repetitive, like sending out emails to follow up or finding new leads. So for these tasks, what we do is we find freelancers who are virtual assistants, and we start working with them on an hourly basis. That way you get to test how long they take to finish all your tasks or how many tasks they can finish within an hour. And after working with them for an hour or two, a month or two, you'll actually get to see the quality of their work, their efficiency, and then you can negotiate a flat monthly rate or weekly rate. That way you both save money because these tasks will definitely be more efficient as they do more. And there are some cases where we use our outsourced teams to do research. So sometimes we'll explore new areas and we want to figure out how it will be done, how much time it will take, what the cost will be. So for example, we did want to explore augmented reality for our business and want to see how much this project would cost if we were to implement it. So what we do in these cases is we just put out a very brief, ambiguous requirements on these freelancing platforms. So in some buzzwords that you find on Google, after you throw the project, somebody will send you a proposal. The more experienced contractors or freelancers will always send you a more detailed proposal with a bunch of questions that you need to clarify before they will start their work. And through that Q&A process, I find that I actually learn a lot more from these questions from the freelancers than from Google, mainly because these are the people who've gone through the challenges of implementing these projects. They know what you need to figure out first before they will dive in to do the work for you. And also, if you do want to go ahead with it, you now know how to formulate your requirements to get the work done properly. Yeah. Always wrong button. All right, so those are my quick tips of working globally with our teams, and hope that helps.
Thank you very much for that, Karen. So we'll do a few quick questions. So if anyone has any, go ahead. While you think about that, I'll ask one. So one thing I was thinking about, I'm actually moving into an international role myself, working with customers, and one of the things I'm thinking about is, okay, well, I've seen my dad go through this before, where you're doing early morning calls, late night calls, and you're really never off. What's been your experience with the work-life balance? Obviously, you're in a startup, so that probably still has its own challenges, but I'm curious if you have any recommendations around managing that aspect.
For sure. So, like I said, having that structure of communication is key. So spend your morning with one team, spend your afternoon not too late into the evening with another. So it really depends on how much control you have on the hours. If I do need to work later into the evening, then I'll take some time off during the day, do my other thing, do my personal stuff. That's how I manage my time. The thing with startup is you do work for yourself, you don't have structure. So putting structure around yourself, forcing yourself to work on a schedule is key.
Cool, thank you.
Were you limited in terms of the countries that you could select from because of language differences?
Yes and no. So, because when we start, we definitely need somebody who can communicate, even though, even in European countries, even though English isn't their first language, their English is good enough to communicate. So, for me, it wasn't a big challenge. If I weren't able to, if the freelancer is not able to understand my requirements upfront, I just stop working with them. So, I only continue to work with those that I can actually talk to.
Did that limit you?
Maybe, but communication is important when we need to do the work. So even if they have the skills, if I'm not able to understand each other, there's no point of moving forward.
Hi. Well, this way.
Yes.
Hi. Have you, whenever parting ways with a service provider, either independent or an agency, have you ever had any trouble keeping continuity and keeping the service going and keeping up, development and things like that?
So I've been looking at that the first, so I've tried 3 contractors at the beginning doing the same thing. So because I always test it out with a smaller task first, so it's easy for me to transition to the second and then the third. And if something is not working out within the first 2 months, I'll move on to the next. So the 2 months of work isn't going to be hard to continue.
Cool, thanks. All right, last one.
I was wondering how you address confidentiality in working with your team members, particularly say with a virtual assistant where they might be handling sensitive information.
Yeah. So so we definitely sign a contract, and again, these are easier with agencies, so they do have that process.
Cool. Karen, thank you very much.